Hey guys, welcome back. This is going to be part one of the space duel restoration or recreation, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to take these original sides here that are pretty beat up around the edges. Artwork's in fabulous condition. It doesn't look bad at all. We got minor scratching, which I'll probably do a little bit of touch up with some acrylic paints to just make it look a little bit better. But what we're going to do is, before I start building the center of the cabinet itself, I went to Arcade Jason's last night and I took a ton of measurements and made some quick sketches of the panels in the cabinet. When I was there, his wife looked up online, and if you go to arcade, I think it's arcadecabinetparts.com or something like that. I forget the name of it. But anyways, arcadecabinetplans.com, I think it is. They have all the plans for this cabinet. Problem is with that is it says it's 89% accurate, okay? So when we were looking at it, you could tell like some things were not perfect. So we are going to print onto vinyl all the center parts, most of the center parts that I need to cut out, because that's going to give me my speaker circles and stuff like that. And I'm going to use the measurements I took from the cabinet and compare them to that, so that I can use the cabinet measurements. If these parts are a little bit off in size, I can at least adjust them a little bit as I go. So the first thing I want to do is we need to fix these sides real quick with some fiberglass resin and then some filler. I want to fix them now because it's going to be way easier to fix them on the stand than once it's a full cabinet, because then I'm laying it on the side, laying it on the artwork, and I don't want to scratch the artwork up any more than it already has a few minor scratches. We do have a crack right here in the cabinet that's going across here, but it's not all the way through, so I'm going to ignore that, fix it right here in the white area, and that will just touch up a little bit of paint. You're never even gonna notice it. It's not all the way through, it's just on the surface for some reason. And then the perimeter we're gonna spray, okay? And we're just gonna use Krylon satin white spray paint. So we'll tape off the edge here, right along the edge, all the way around the perimeter of the cabinet, and then we will just spray the outer perimeter with the white. We're not doing any clear coat or anything like that over top of the artwork. We're gonna leave it as is. And that's what we're gonna do. That's my goal. So it's gonna be a long video. I'm hoping to get it all done today. That's my goal. I'm gonna try to speed up what I can when I can on the video. You know, cutting wood and stuff like that. I'll show it all, but I'm gonna fast forward so that, you know, this is probably, I'm gonna be out here for probably 8 hours to get this thing done. So I'm gonna try to condense it into an 1.5 to 2 hour video, which shouldn't be a problem. So first thing I wanna do is, I need to pull the T-molding off. We need to make a metal piece for here, which I already have one, so that we can pour the corner of fiberglass resin here. This corner is missing completely right here, and we got a couple little busted out ones there that we need to make a little piece for. And then on this one right here, we just have a piece here and here. What the good thing is we can make a template from that one for there, or close enough. So let's pull off the T-molding. Oh, here's the control panel I got from Arcade Jason. It's down there. Needs a little bit of work. Somebody put carriage bolts in the front of it. We don't know why. And put a piece of plexiglass on the front. Actually, let's take a look at that real quick. Just curious as to why they did that. What was their reasoning for putting long carriage bolts out of there? So I'm gonna have a little bit of holes to weld in, but not a big deal. And it's got a little rust, but it's fixable. I did order a new control panel overlay, and I don't know where I ordered it from. To be honest with you, I don't remember. Got more carriage bolts for my collection. Oh yes, they're gonna spin. Awesome. One's gonna spin. We're gonna need this control panel to kind of test it on the cabinet to make sure everything's made right. And at a later date, I'll get it cleaned up and stuff like that. My main goal is to get this cabinet put together paint touched up and in the basement, so it's out of the way. And then it'll probably be a little bit before I get back to it. I gotta wait for Jason to get the TV converted and stuff like that, and a few other things. Oh, he's giving me a wiring harness too for a Space Duel, which has just a little bit of a hack going to the control panel, which is not a big deal. We'll remake that part. That's easy enough. So he's definitely helped me out big time on this, which I really appreciate it. Maybe they put this on here because the front of the control panel was just crappy looking. Not quite sure. You guys ever take one of these old control panel overlays off and it kind of smells like BO, the old vinyl? It's freaking disgusting. It's like the third one I've done like that lately. Sometimes it doesn't smell like that, and sometimes it's like really bad. Must just be like what the old aging vinyl does or something. I'm not quite sure. I do have all new green and red leaf switch buttons coming from, I think, Arcade Adventure was where they had them for. And then I should have the player 1 and player 2 light up buttons, the volcano buttons. Should have some more of those in the basement still. So this last one wants to spin on me, so I need to try to got it. When I see stuff like this, and I don't think of having to weld it in as a big deal. I'm just looking at like 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 more carriage bolts that I can clean up and use for something. Carriage bolts like this are hard to find. These ones that are these size, nobody sells them locally. You got to order them. So I like it when I get this shit. I know, it's the little things. All right, so let's peel this off and see what exactly is going on underneath this piece of plexiglass. Yeah, they were just covering up an ugly front edge of rust. What a waste. So they took an old marquee, trying to see what it was. What the hell was it? Probably something rare. I don't know. To me, it looks like a dinosaur head right here. Something behind it. Maybe another dinosaur over here. I don't know. That's freaking weird. I need to order some smooth black T-molding. I am out of it. This stuff looks a little flatter, like it's not as not as much of an arch to it. So what we're going to do is, first thing I want to do is see if I can make a piece of metal shaped like that. So I'm going to grab the metal. I'm using is just some, it's like metal for ductwork and stuff for houses. It's actually got pretty close already. So I'm just hand forming it. That's pretty good. So now we can screw that to the other cabinet. Hopefully I made it long enough. Look at that. I don't know how much is missing here. I don't think there's that much missing. Which side's the bottom? This is the bottom. So I'm gonna have to take a measurement from that edge to the outer edge of that other cabinet, which I gotta go grab my tape measure. It's exactly 31.5 inches. So right there. So what I'm gonna do before I put this on is I'm gonna take a piece of sheet metal and tape it to the back side here. Maybe I'll even screw it on. And then we'll set this piece on top of it, and then we can tape all the edges to hold the resin in place. We can try taping it first, see if that holds. It's gonna take a little bit of work to get it where I want it, but we'll get it. I think what I'm going to do now I know where 31.5 is, right to that edge of the tape. Probably would have helped if I put that in first, but I got it. reason why I'm doing this project, one of the reasons why, is A, I don't like to see anything go to waste, and B, I want to show you guys that anything is possible. If you have the will and the want, there is nothing that you cannot do. I don't care what anybody says. If you have the will to do it, you can do it. Don't let anybody ever tell you you can't do something. Now this might get a little bit sloppy with the resin, but it is what it is. I would not recommend building this corner out with Bondo. It will bust right back off. You know what I forgot to do? Forgot to drive a couple screws in there. So now I gotta take this back off. It's all right. Not that big a deal. But yeah, I just want to show people that nothing, 99% of the time, nothing is never too far gone that it cannot be fixed. I don't care what anybody says, because I fixed a lot of stuff that has been really bad off, including cars. You know, I fixed cars that were junk. Put new frame rails on them, put new sheet metal on all of it, and like I said, anything's possible. Now I kind of moved that bottom piece of sheet metal, but I'm not too worried about that because I know, hopefully, I know where the screws went. I'm just going to double check it though. If we're off by an 1/8 inch, I highly doubt it's going to matter. But we're actually right on the money, so. Okay, now we have screws in there, which is going to help hold that resin onto the cabinet now. Oops, I ripped it. Okay, I think that looks really, really good. What do you guys think? Let's go down to this bottom corner here. And this is why this video is going to be long, guys, is I'm really trying to just show you in detail how I'm doing this stuff. So hopefully you guys will watch it all. The longer you watch the videos, the better it is for me on YouTube. At least that's what they say. Who knows? I mean, I don't know how it works to get more people to see the videos and stuff. I mean, I'm just going off of what they tell you. So I could tell on here how far in the T-molding groove was cut to there. So I'm trying to keep my screws in far enough so that I don't hit it with my bit again. All right, so that'll hold that. All right, more tape underneath it here. Okay, I'm gonna continue this method along the other little chips and spots, and then I'll come back and show you what everything looks like. So basically this corner on that cabinet over there is completely wiped out. So we're gonna use this as our template, transfer it over to there and make that. So you can kind of see what I'm doing here, so I'll be back. Okay, they're all made. What I did was I took my little 3-inch angle grinder here with a piece of 36 grit on it, and that's all I did was come along the edge here and I tapered it. So it tapers, ramps down a little bit so that when I pour my resin, it will come up to here and stop. What that does is gives me less of an abrupt line, so it doesn't follow this line. It actually comes up and over to this line. So I'm gonna mix up some fiberglass resin now, which I gotta go get a bucket or a little container, and we're gonna pour all these spots, and then I'll try to heat them with the heat gun and get them to dry quick so they don't run everywhere. So we're gonna mix up some resin here. When I ground down that cabinet, those spots, it smells like laundry soap or something. It's weird. I wonder if it was in like a laundromat or something at one point. I thought I had an open one. There's a little bit left in there. So basically, this is fiberglass resin. It's a liquid resin made by Bondo. You get it at Home Depot, Lowe's, like 60 bucks a gallon now. Used to be cheaper. But every ounce of resin, they want you to put 10 drops of hardener. So we're gonna put, I'll put like 6 ounces in here. That means they want 60 drops of resin. Seems like a lot, but a drop is pretty small. So once you cut the top open, you go like this. Oh boy, that's like 7 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 14, 15. $23, so we're gonna call it 25. Well, it's okay if you're a little bit over. So we're gonna say 25, and we need 60. Sorry, I'm looking out the window because I don't know what my neighbor's doing out there. 7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 3. Couple extra for good measure. Now you got to stir this stuff really well. Very important that you stir it really well. Got to get that hardener mixed in completely with the resin. I'm going to get a pair of scissors and we're going to put a little bit of that cloth in there again like I did last time. Just on the bigger areas that are missing. This is just woven fiberglass cloth. I'm gonna grab some scissors and my heat gun, and we're gonna do this. I'm gonna kind of do this on a fast forward motion. Okay, all right, so this is what it looks like. You can see how it's thicker. Did that on purpose, so now I can grind it down. Once again, extremely hard, guys. This whole corner, remember, was gone from here that way. Nice and solid again. It's thick, but we're gonna grind it down. You can see that matting in there. So, all right, I'm gonna get set up. Grind this down with some 80 grit with the 8-inch mud buster with the 80 grit screen on it. And then we'll do a little bit of filler work. Okay, we're about 90% there with the body work, guys. We just gotta do minor body work now, around the edges and stuff. The one that had a couple cracks, I ground down in the white area where the crack was, and I made a little bit of a dimple in it just to so that when I fill it in, it'll be flat. Now this crack comes through here, but to be honest with you, I'm not worried about it. I'll take a little black paint if I have to, or whatever. And maybe I'll just take a black paint marker and just color in this whole black square right there to hide that. I'm not that worried about it. I mean, putting reproduction artwork on here would be a shame. That's why we're not doing it. Because no matter how good the reproduction artwork is, it's never as good as the original. So my bench is a mess. Yes, I cleaned it yesterday and the day before and the day before. Oh, did I tell you that? The day before that. Oh, look, my tripod might have had a little accident. It's held together with painter's tape, a bunch of zip ties, and a screw. I got to order another one. I have another one in the basement. I just didn't feel like going down there and getting it, so I said, screw it. I'm going to fix this one for now. So that's what I did. Yeah, this thing fell over in my van last night. Well, it didn't really fall over. Let me rephrase that. I was on my way home from Jason's last night at like 11 o'clock at night, and a bunch of deer decided to run out in front of my van, so I had to slam on the brakes or hit the deer. And when I slammed on the brakes, a piece of wood fell over in the back, and that's where the tripod was, and it shattered it. So that's kind of exactly how it happened. But such is life. Guess I'd rather buy a $29 tripod than a thousands of dollars worth of damage hitting a deer in my van. So O'Reilly's, I don't know if I just said this or not, I'm losing my mind. O'Reilly's had the fantastic glaze back in stock, still 20 bucks a tube. I bought the only 2 tubes they had there. It's hit or miss. Sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. You can order it. If they don't have it, you can get them to order it in. I usually don't. Sometimes I do, depending. I probably should just have them order me like 5 tubes. But anyways, usually if I go up there to get parts for something, like I was up there picking up an air filter and a lower radiator hose for this pickup truck. And I happened to notice they had 2 of them in there, so I just grabbed both of them. This is not a new one. This is one of the old ones. But this stuff is badass, and I like the other stuff. That Dolphin glaze, same company, made by U-Pole. And we're gonna go ahead and get this mixed up. Probably have to mix up more than one batch. And then we're gonna get all these edges coated. And then, I mean, we're pretty much ready to start cutting wood after this. I might have to do a little bit of fine tuning with the body work, but that's easy. We could do that when the cabinet's standing up if we have to. Not really looking forward to cutting that particle board, that, what the hell is it called? Melamine in here, because it's a freaking mess, but it's 30 degrees outside and I really don't feel like doing it out there. Now I'm gonna do the other one the same way. Then I'm gonna come back with 180 grit, sand it all down, and it should be ready at that point for me to start building the rest of the cabinet. I do need to cut the T-molding groove real quick first, and then I'll be ready to start building the cabinet itself. All right, they are ready. They turned out really nice. Oh, I gotta do the routering real quick. I'll go grab the router, we'll knock that out. And then I'm gonna lean up against the spray booth and start and get the tools in here and the sheet of melamine and plywood and all that stuff, so that we can start building the cabinet itself. But see guys, it's strong, it's not gonna bust off. I don't know if I'd do that if that was just made out of Bondo. Okay, I got the melamine in here. We got the printed pieces that I wanted to print. And I did some measurements so far from my book to them, and they seem to be about dead on. For instance, like the front of the cabinet when I was at Jason's house is 34.5 tall. And this is 34.5 tall, and it's 23 3/4 wide, and that's what this is. So that's good. I don't need obviously the whole square. I just wanted a reference to know where to put the holes for the 6x9s and the coin door. Now I have an over-under coin door. It's not an Atari one. I don't have an Atari one, so it's a little bit different. I mean, it doesn't look much different, but it's a little bit different. You know, it's a newer style over-under coin door, and that actually might be a different size hole cutout than what is on that drawing, because this one looks like it's going to be 7 1/8 by about 20 tall, so about 7 1/8 by 20 tall. No, it's 20 1/4 tall. 7 1/8, it's going to be the same. So that's awesome. So my placement for my coin door and these are all going to be the same. This is my upper speaker panel. I didn't print everything because obviously I didn't need the sides. I didn't need a piece for the top and stuff like that. This piece right here is the monitor board. The board that holds the glass. The glass sits on this and you put your fingers in here. to get the glass out of the cabinet. This is the lower back. This notch looks a little big to me, but that's the lower back with the notch. Actually, I think I took a measurement of that notch. Actually, I did. Where did I measure that at? So this is, let me look at this real quick. This is 4 1/8. This is that piece right there. Let's see if it's 4 1/8. It's 4 1/8. So that's good. I have no idea why I printed that. I have no idea what those are. The print, the file that we had to download, or the file that we had to use, we had to download a free software because we don't have that style software to print this. So, whatever, we made it work. So it's a little fuzzy, but it's fine. It's just a template. Okay, the back right here. So it goes, see, yeah, that's only supposed to be 1 inch, and they have that drawn at 1 3/4 inches. So that is incorrect. That should go from this edge here, 17.5 is the starting point. So it is starting correctly, but it's only 1 inch wide. It goes to 18.5. So that's not a big deal. We'll just cut that down a little bit. And the depth of it is wrong as well. It is 1.5 inches down from the factory, which is way up here. Let me grab a marker because I want to mark on that, because if I don't, I'm going to forget and be dumb and cut it wrong. So we got to go 1 inch wide here. And then down 1.5 to there. Just going to hand draw it. That's how it needs to look. That looks a lot better. I knew when I was coming out of the printer, I was like, that's not right. Let's look at this key. I was mainly really concerned about the key. This is the piece that the control panel shuts on it. This right here is the shelf for the monitor. And then this kick down right here is where this piece goes in for the monitor glass, and it's 4 1/4, which is perfect because that's 4 1/8. But I kind of just did a drawing, a quick one. It was kind of hard, obviously, because I had a monitor above my head. It was in a tight spot and stuff like that. But I have it roughly 8 inches tall on this side, and this is only 6 5/8, which I could have screwed up. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's right here, 6 5/8. And that's about right. This is measuring maybe a 1/16 over 6.5. So I would say yes, that's correct. And then I had, to this notch here, I had 14 7/8. And this is saying 15, which close enough for me. 1/8 inch is fine by me. And at this point, from here to here, I had 9 inches. And this is 8 1/4. So that could be off on here, or it could have been my mistake. I don't know. Then I had from this notch to here. I'm just going to go with this one because I think it's going to be fine. 21.5, and it's 21.5. It's exactly what I measured. And then I measured this width here is 1.5. That's 1.5. And an overall length is 26 5/8. And that was a little tough to measure in his cabinet because I couldn't really get all the way up there. So I guessed at that. And we're at 26 7/8. And on the top part here, 26 5/8. So that must have been where I measured too. I must have thought this went straight in the cabinet and actually peaks a little bit. It's fine. It looks good. I did not print this right here. This is the upper back shelf piece, or an upper back piece for the cabinet. Bottom back right here, which is right here. This, they call it a key for some reason. That's right here. This is the top panel, and there is a vent cut out in the top panel. It's just a rectangle. These are my measurements for that. Not a big deal. I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 burned out lights in here. LED lights, greatest thing in the world. Junk. Let's check this size. This is the Yeah, I just cut myself literally on the edge of this melamine. Impressive. Speaker grill. Did I measure that? Yes, I did. Upper speaker grill. 8.5 deep, 23.75 wide, which I'm sure it's correct wide. Yep. And I measured it 8.5 deep, and this was once again trying to guess at it. This comes out to 9, which that's probably correct because it probably goes a little bit past. I think the glass sits in front of it or something. Now that I'm not positive about. Does the glass slide into the groove up there? I'm going to say yes, probably. So I probably need to make a groove in this for the glass to recess into it. And then I also need to figure out, I'll have to look at my pictures. Was the speakers to the front of the cabinet or to the back of the cabinet? I think they're towards the front, but I do need to look at that as well. We can kind of look at the speakers here. I was taking a guess because, I guess I'm not even looking at the right spot. I was taking a guess because, sorry, you guys might have just seen, I don't know, the side of my face or something, of where these holes were cut out, because obviously the speaker grills are riveted on and I could not tell exactly where they were. So I was just kind of guessing. And I don't think, I guessed 2 inches to 9 inches. So I'm going to say that's probably right. Their hole is definitely smaller. It's a 6x9, and a 6x9 mounts from the back side with screws. And then there's an outer cover here that has radius edges. And you know what I forgot to measure is what's the width and height of that cover, because I think all 4 are the same. I have perforated material in the back, so we're going to cut 4 identical speaker grills out of the perforated metal, and the speaker grill sits on top of the wood. I thought it was routed in and recessed flush with the wood, but it's not. It sits on top. So we're going to put it just back on top just like that, but I'm going to have to get a hold of Jason, or if one of you guys can leave a message in this video when it post tonight or tomorrow morning, what's the width and height of these speaker grills. I believe all 4 are the same. I'd really appreciate that because I did forget that, but worst case scenario, I'll get a hold of Jason. I'll give him a call and he can just measure them for me real quick. So I think we're good to go. So what I need to do now is cut this sheet down. I have my table saw over there, the one from my van. We need to be 23 3/4 wide, okay? So 23.75. Here's the problem. I worked construction my whole life, trim carpenter, flooring, remodeling, all that stuff. And everything we did was measured in inches, you know what I mean? 9.5 inches, 9 3/4, 9 5/8, 9 7/16. Well, when you work on a computer, this shit, everything's got to be in decimals. So I get confused because sometimes I'm writing 23.75, which is 23 3/4, and then over here I'm writing 3 1/4. You know what I mean? I'm going back and forth like an idiot. 8.5, which is 8.5 inches. Because I'm so used to doing it the old way, but in my head I know I need to do it in the decimal point because that's how you got to put it in on the computer. But I get it all figured out. But anyways, 23.75. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to cut the first piece here. I'm going to cut it to 25 inches. Okay, with my circular saw and my straight fence that goes on it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take it to the table saw over there, and we're going to cut it down to like 24 3/4 by using this factory edge here. All right, and then we're going to flip the board around, because at that point this cut's going to be straight to this cut. And then at that point we're going to dial the saw down to 23 3/4, run this side down the fence, and then we should have a nice straight even cut on each side. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to cut this into third, which I'm going to have some wasted material probably. I have to figure that out, how I want to do that yet. I'm not sure. I'm trying to get the whole cabinet out of one sheet, including the back door. I don't know the height of the back door yet because I did not measure it, because I figured I would measure it once the lower back and the upper back is on. At that point, I can measure it to my cabinet in case I am a hair off. I don't want to go cutting a door before I assemble the cabinet and then all of a sudden it be the wrong size because something is off an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch or something like that. Also, I still have to make a bunch of these cleats. Somebody busting them off. a bunch of spots. We're gonna have to do some grinding. Probably gonna have to do a little black touch-up paint in here. Not a big deal. I'll probably just use a roller or anything. Most of it's not gonna show. Like even here, the control panel just about comes to the edge, and you can see on this one where the fiberglass is here. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of body work on the backside. Nothing major, but we got a bunch of cleats to make. So what I did was, these are 3/4 by 3/4. I bought a piece of Select and Better pine that is, it's funny, it's almost the same color as the old stuff. But anyways, so we're just gonna run this on a table saw, and we're gonna cut 3/4 inch wide strips out of it. It was cheaper to buy this. They sell them this size already, cut at Lowe's. They're $10 for an 8-footer. This was $8 for a 6-footer. Okay, so I'm gonna get 3/4 and 3/4, an inch and a half, and 3/4 is 2 1/4. I'll get 4 strips out of this, 4 6-footers for $8 or whatever it was. And then this is a piece of plywood I'm going to use for the base. I picked a nice piece out. I didn't buy a full sheet. This actually was on sale for like $15 or $18. It was cheap. A full sheet was like 40 or 50, and I'm like, fuck, I don't need it. You know, it's all it's going to do is sit in the back for now. So I bought just this. So half of this is going to make my bottom, because that's what they used was plywood, and then the other piece was the shelf that they used that the monitor sits on. So we got enough plywood for that, and I have more plywood in the back too. This was made out of plywood, so I want to make that out of plywood as well. So all right, let me get set up here. I'm going to cut down a couple pieces, and we're going to start cutting this stuff up. Now, we printed that stuff on vinyl. We do have rolls of paper that we can print on, but it's, to be honest with you, it's easier on the vinyl because I can just stick it right to the piece of wood and just use that and cut my speakers out and mark our coin door and stuff like that. So I don't have to draw it on the cabinet, and then I just got to peel off the vinyl afterwards. If any sort of residue sticks to this, some lacquer thinner will take it right off. This is basically just an extremely thin layer of laminate on both sides of particle board. It's $47 a sheet at Menards. But the benefit is as long as you can cut it good without chipping the crap out of it, which is not the easiest thing. Table saw works good because the top surface doesn't chip, but the bottom does, and the bottom surface goes on the inside of the cabinet, so it doesn't matter. So, all right, let me get this going here. All right, so you can see we have nice, crisp, clean cuts on both sides. That's still chipped up. We'll have to cut that down afterwards, not a big deal. We're at exactly 23 3/4. Perfect, perfectly straight on top and bottom. This circular saw I'm using is called a track saw. That plate goes on the bottom of the saw, and then it rides in the groove of that straight edge there, and it gives you a nice precise cut. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make one more board to 23 3/4 wide for now, and then cut it down on table saw just like I did off camera, and then we'll have 2 of those ready so that we can start cutting pieces out of it. I also need to rip down that piece of plywood to 23 3/4, which I'm just going to do that now real quick. I'll do that on camera because the saw is already set to the width. Okay, so I have 3 good panels. 1 there, 2 there, and then I have this partial one here, which we can make those key pieces out of, and maybe, probably both back pieces, the top and bottom of the back. So I think we can get all 4 out of that. We'll save that one for now for the back door. Then we have 2 full ones, which we need to make a front, a top. Yeah, I think we're gonna have enough. I think it's gonna work out well. So now what I need to do is, now that I have them all cut to 23.75, 23 3/4, I need to cut a front face to 34.5. So I'm going to do that with the track saw because my table saw does not go that wide. I'm going to do a double cut again because, and one other thing I'm going to do, show you here. So if you look here, this and this side are perfectly cut with no chipping, okay? This edge is a factory edge, which is chipped up. Now, because I'm going to be using a circular saw, A circular saw rotation goes like this, okay? So if I cut with these two sides are nice on this side, it's gonna chip like this, right down this cut. I don't wanna do that. So I need to put my two good side cuts upside down so that when I cut with the circular saw, it'll make that bottom side nice and flat, straight looking, without chips in it, just like the two sides are close enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set my fence to 2 inches. So basically, the way the saw sets in that guide right there, from where it slides in here over is 1 5/8. So I know if I go 2 inches, we'll cut a little bit of this crap off here and we'll be good to go. And then we can measure 34.5 or whatever I said off of that. So all we're doing right now is cleaning up this edge. Okay, we're clamped. Let's recheck it. Literally between 15/16 and 2 inches on both sides, which is totally fine. This is not an accurate measurement here. We do not have to be completely precise with this cut here. We just need it to be straight. And the bottom of this plate that's on the saw has this groove here, and this is what rides in the channel of this straight edge. I also have another section of the straight edge so I can do an 8-foot piece cuts as well. And there's also a groove on the opposite side. See how that's all chipped up? When we turn it over, I'll show you that other side. I don't feel any chips. So it should be, in theory, good. So now we gotta do a little math because it's gonna get a little confusing. So now we know that this needs to be 24.5 tall. I'm sorry, 34.5. 34.5. So we're actually going to measure 34.5, but we cannot put the fence on that line, because if we put the fence on this 34.5 wide, we're going to be cutting 1 5/8 over from that, so we're going to be screwed. So we need to add 1 5/8, and after we add 1 5/8, we do need to check it, because I might be off on my measurement with that. I'm not positive yet. Pretty sure it's 1 5/8, but that does not mean that I am correct. So basically, I measure off this line 1 5/8 over. So now I'm gonna take my tape measure all the way down to this end, and it's gonna be 36.25. So we're gonna mark 36.25 down here. Don't trust going off of this mark on both sides. Do it off of one, and then mark the other one, from the edge of the plywood. If that makes any sense. Oh, come on. Why are you doing this to me? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my saw up here and see if this blade is going to touch where I marked that 34.5. And yes, it does, directly in the middle of it. That's perfect. But before I cut, let's go ahead and double check our fence. Butt it up against the fence. We're at 36, a 16th under 36.25. So we're at 36 3/16. 36 3/16. So now I know when I cut, we're straight with that first cut we made. Now, let's look up close. If you look here, chip, 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 even the circular, even the table saw side on the back side's chipped. So we have chipping around all four sides on this side. Let's flip it over and see how the cuts look on the front side. This is the back of the panel. If you look at the front here, we have zero chipping. We have a nice, beautiful straight edge here all the way around. Now, you can buy one of these kits at Menards or Lowe's, I believe. They're around $100. Comes with an 8-foot fence and the bracket to put your saw into. And when I put my saw into the bracket, I always take my fence of the saw and I butt it up against on each side, and then I know it's running straight with that edge there. But so less than $100, I think that track saw is, and it works good, man. And you can put any circular saw you want into it because it's adjustable. So now we have our front face cut. Let's apply the vinyl to it, and then I'll put that off to the side. We'll cut it afterwards. I'm going to kind of keep just making panels and applying the vinyl to it that need it, and then we'll cut all that stuff out. Now we could cut these 2 sides on our cutter after we get done printing. I don't do that on stuff like this because, I mean, even I'm off a tiny hair, that's just from me cutting with the scissors. I know where it's at. But we're nice and straight here and here, so we're good. But we don't do it for this kind of stuff because, I mean, I guess if we were doing it for somebody, we would. But for me, I don't care. But if we want to take it from the printer and put it in the cutter to cut it, the printer has to put reference marks on the vinyl. So you waste room because you have to have a reference mark in a couple spots so that the cutter can pick it up and cut directly on these lines. Just so you know. So yes, we can cut it exactly to size and straight if we want to, but in this situation, it doesn't bother me. I just need to get it on there straight, and who gives a crap if it overhangs? It doesn't matter. It's literally getting pulled off as soon as I make the cuts on it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the upper speaker panel. I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna kind of just let the camera roll. I'm gonna kind of just do my thing, cut the stuff. You guys got a pretty good basic idea of how I'm doing it all now. I'm just gonna kind of roll with it and just keep going until we get everything cut. And then at that point, we'll start cutting out the centers and stuff like that, and then putting the cleats on and start assembling this thing. If you are wondering what this says, it says here, top speaker panel, monitor glass to marquee, okay? And it says, note, both edges are beveled. Dimensions are for longest length, meaning that these need to be cut at an angle. But I don't know the angle until I hold it up there to see. So I'm gonna cut these speaker holes out next. It's looking good. We almost have a space duel again. I chipped the edge on that side over there a little bit, so I'll have to do a little touch up tomorrow before we touch up the paint. And I don't know if that needs anything or not. It looks a little funky right there, but we'll see. It's coming together though. The latches for the control panel fit in here perfectly. So the latch gets mounted here, and then when you open the control panel, you use this to grab the glass out. Your finger goes behind the glass and you pull the glass out. I actually got to get a hold of Jason and see how tall that glass is. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. The only thing I need to mess with tomorrow is the speaker assembly that has to go in here. I don't know if there's a bracket or something. I think there's a bracket or something that needs to go in there. The control panel is just sitting on here. That's why it's hanging out on the edges. And the coin door is just sitting in there. I just kind of threw it together to see what it looked like. But we have this bad boy back together. Another space duel saved from the junkyard or the landfill, whatever you want to call it. So I got a little bit of body work to touch up. I chipped a couple little tiny spots, not a big deal. But it's all together. Back door fits. I was having a little issue with it because look at this, I already pre-cracked the cabinet. I cracked that corner out. Oops. Can't win them all. Gives it a little bit of originality, right? Just trying to stick this door on real quick. One-handed. Jason's got a vent for me for the top. I just talked to him on the phone a little bit ago. Because I had to get measurements for the glass. Because on the glass here, you have to leave a space back here. And I needed to know how tall the glass was. I wanted to make sure it was right. So it sits on this plywood here, and then it goes up and slides back in there, and then these cleats hold it in place. 16.5 inches tall. And he might even have a piece of tinted glass for me. If not, I've got a couple other ideas of what I can do. I mean, I could always order a piece of plexi that's tinted. Just trying to not spend money if I don't have to. We'll see what happens. But like I said, this control panel, once it gets bolted on down there and in place, it's pretty damn good. So that's gonna end this one, guys. It's 10 to 10 at night. I started, what did I say, 1:30? You'll know when you watch the video. I took about an hour break. So we'll say 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, about 7 hours. I cleaned up a lot in here. My bench is almost cleaned off again. I didn't put every single thing away because I know that I got to do a little work to that up there still tomorrow. So I want to get that finished tomorrow and hopefully touch up the artwork. And then I got to paint the coin door and obviously strip and paint the control panel, but that'll be after. If I can get the cabinet all done so that I can get into the basement, I can clean up the coin door and do that, and also this. But like I said, guys, if you have the want and the will to do it, you can do it. You can make anything happen. I don't care what anybody tells you. You can fix anything if you put your mind to it. I mean, once it's cleaned up, are you really ever gonna know? Other than the cabinet is clean inside. But I gotta see if I have some marquee brackets for the top and stuff like that. I did order a marquee that should be here pretty soon. But other than that, that's it, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Part 1 of the space duel. I guess Jason has a Gravatar harness that he's gonna give me. It's close, but not exactly, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of rewiring, but we'll get it. So yeah, I mean, this shouldn't be too far off. I mean, I'm not in a super hurry to finish the game or anything like that. I'm just trying to get it. I didn't want to leave these sides out here and them get dirty or something happen to them. So I wanted to get the cabinet put together so I can get it in the basement. So yeah, like I said, we're going to finish that tomorrow up there. I'm going to see if I have some marquee brackets so I can drill some holes. And then I want to touch up the paint. We got minor little body work and then some paint touch up. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Also, hit the thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Any questions or comments, feel free to ask. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It doesn't cost anything. Just lets you know when more videos come out. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.